How did I end up here? Lying in your arms, watching city lights turn to stars.
Ever since I first watched Critics' video on spending $1,200 on PS5 related stuff, including games, where Bugsnax was one of the games he talked about, I've had an interest in playing it. However, with it being on the PS5, which is both expensive as hell and about as rare as it is to find a shiny female combi, I really had no easy way of playing it. But just a few days ago, as of writing this, it got ported to other platforms, and so I finally had the chance to play it. Having given you all the context, you may be asking, well, what the hell even is Bugsnax? And to answer that, I'm going to ask you to shut up for a second and allow me to get to that. To summarise it, Bugsnax, developed and published by Young Horses, is similar to Ape Escape, a series of games released on the PS1 that are fairly beloved and debatably underrated. But instead of going around catching apes in various challenging ways, depending on the type of ape, you're going around catching these other little creatures, the titular Bugsnax. And it's these little things alone that you can see the game is brimming with charm. From burger creatures that charge an elephant covered in ketchup to tiny strawberry critters to dragonflies that are different kinds of lollipops, there is so much undeniable charm packed into this game, made all the better by the fact that the creatures vocalise their own names much like Pokemon. It's all adorable. And to add on to the overwhelming charm, similar to Ape Escape, in order to catch the Bugsnax, sometimes you'll need to take a certain approach to do so. Take the aforementioned burger creatures, the bungers for example. Normally you can catch these things by simply placing down a trap. Instead, what you have to do is find just a sturdy creature nearby, usually another bunger, splash it with ketchup and wait for them to charge into each other and daze one another, and that's how you capture one. It's this puzzle aspect about Bugsnax that I really love because it gets you thinking and keeps things fresh, no pun intended, throughout, making sure your experience doesn't get stale. Again, no pun intended. I suppose this charm does kind of veil a more subtle, darker aspect about the game where consuming these Bugsnax will transform a certain part of the body into the respective food and the characters to grumbles, just being okay with it as if there were some kind of weird cult, but that's not important. I'm not out here looking into the lore of Bugsnax. Why is everything gotta have lore nowadays? I don't get it. Well anyway, I really enjoyed what I played of Bugsnax. I'm very willing to go back to it to get my cute critter catching fix, if only just to see what new little creatures I come across. Another similarity to Pokemon where you might be intrigued to see every Pokemon just to see what they look like or whatever. Quite a tonal shift, wouldn't you say? But hey, this is not the first time this has happened in this new save file series. It's about as consistent as this series' upload frequency. That aside, speaking truthfully, out of all the games in this video, Back 4 Blood's probably the game I'd least be likely to play, but that is kind of what the series is about, expanding my horizons is all. But with that said, maybe my reluctancy to play something like Back 4 Blood was a good thing, because, not to say it's a bad game, no, I can totally see why people would enjoy this and why earlier zombie PvE games like Left 4 Dead and its sequel are so beloved, but for me, it's not for me. But my opinion aside for a second, how about some context? Well, developed by Total Rock Studios and published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment, as mentioned in the previous paragraph, Back 4 Blood is a zombie PvE survival game where you and 3 other people attempt to wipe out hordes of zombies, called the Ridden, in the pretty typical post-apocalyptic zombie plot of retaking lost land. It's nothing groundbreaking in terms of setting, but gameplay-wise, it's truly something else, taking a ton of inspiration from the Left 4 Dead games, which makes sense because a number of the old Left 4 Dead devs also worked on Back 4 Blood, so it's a passion project essentially. But as I was saying, what makes Back 4 Blood so interesting is its AI adaptation system. To put it simply, it's game design that plays around you, e.g., if you're having a hard time, the game will become easier, but if you're having an easy time, the game will get harder. It's a very cool system honestly, a lot of other games have used a system like this, including the Binding of Isaac. That was a very simple explanation of how the otherwise complex system works, but I'm sure you get the idea. But to get on to my actual experience now, yeah, it was alright. Honestly, there's not too much I can say for what I played, other than for the fact it was all made infinitely better by playing with friends, the boys. And yeah, this type of game with friends is always going to be a blast, but ignoring that for a second, I don't feel strongly about the game in any way. I guess I enjoyed my time, but overall, I'm pretty so-so on it. It kind of hurts being so indifferent about a hugely popular game, but that's just how it is I guess. Not everything is for everyone, and I don't think it should be. However, if what you've been seeing or certain things I've talked about do appeal to you, then give Back 4 Blood a try. I do generally recommend it, despite how I personally feel about it. My opinion probably won't reflect yours after all. For one game I was pretty indifferent about to one that I've absolutely fallen in love with, Stardew Valley. Developed and published by Concerned Ape, Stardew Valley is a life simulation RPG where you're free to do whatever you want. It takes heavy inspiration from Minecraft in that sense, but what I think is a better example is Animal Crossing. Or at least that's the kind of vibe I got from it. It really made me miss the simpler days when New Leaf first came out, and it was just... man, that was a good summer. Well, more accurately, Concerned Ape was heavily inspired by the Harvest Moon series, which, yeah, sure, is inspired by Animal Crossing in one way or another, so I guess I was kind of right. Okay, I'm rambling, my bad. But anyway, the premise for Stardew Valley is as follows. Desiring more from life, while being stuck in a dead-end job, you open a letter given to you by your grandpa who said to open it only when such an occasion would arise. Doing so, you find you're left a deed to a farm located in Pelican Town, which you soon move to start your life anew. It's a simple but wholesome premise, but where Stardew shines is, well, actually, it shines in a lot of aspects. As mentioned, Stardew was inspired by the Harvest Moon series, so it is, of course, a farming simulation game. And by the way, this happens to be my first farming simulation game, and if this is what that genre is like, then man, I really need to play more farming sim games. Like, for real, tending to your crops and seeing your plot of land progress slowly into a thriving farm is so relaxing and just nice. It's the perfect kind of escapism for whenever you're stressed, honestly. Something that Animal Crossing used to be for me, and yeah, it is probably because I missed the good old days of when I was new to Animal Crossing that I've fallen in love with Stardew Valley. To move away from the farming aspect, Stardew also shines in its social aspect. Honestly, if there's anything you've heard about Stardew, including myself, it's the social bonding aspect of the game where you build relationships with the folks of Pelican Town, and in time, you can even choose to marry someone, so long as they're single, of course. There's no cheating here. And no, I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm not even 15 days in, and that's going to take a while. But if you're curious, I've taken an interest in Abigail because I really like her design, so I'm probably going to see how far I can get with her. But hey, things can change, so we'll see. Speaking of character design, well, kind of, I mean how the game looks in general, Stardew is such a pretty looking game. The pixel art really does wonders for this kind of game. It's so pleasing to the eyes and just... oh, it's so beautiful. I love it so much. To really hammer it home on how much I loved my time with Stardew, on average, I'll clip about maybe 20 clips per game for these videos, and while I've gathered at least 30 clips for the majority of games this time around, in Stardew Valley's case, I have around 50 clips, so there you go. And you know, I want to continue playing, and I don't want those other clips to go to waste, so I'll say this. A proper review of Stardew Valley is in the cards. I can't say when yet, but it definitely will be someday. I strongly recommend Stardew Valley if you need something a little more down to earth or a great form of escapism, because it's great for both those things and on its own. Much like I said with A Hat in Time once, I'm disappointed it's taken me this long to play it, over 6 years after it first came out, but I'm glad I finally have. When it comes to video game genres, it can be argued that no particular one is as satisfying to progress in than a Metroidvania. But there's a chance you don't know what a Metroidvania even is, so allow me. To quote Wikipedia here, Metroidvania is a subgenre of action-adventure video games focused on guided non-linearity and utility-gated exploration and progression. So, in other words, there's a strong, genuine feeling of progression and growth. Also, the name Metroidvania is a combination of the Metroid and Castlevania titles, series that were the birthplace of what the Metroidvania subgenre has become known for, with other games in the subgenre including the Shantae line of games, the Ori series, and today's topic, Hollow Knight. Developed and published by Team Cherry, Hollow Knight has you take control of this little thing known as the Knight, and your task is to wipe the hollowness of its infection that has taken over the residents' minds, by unlocking the seals to a temple door that houses the source of said infection. As expected, similar to other Metroidvanias, you have to explore a humongous landscape to find new abilities that can help you progress and defeat many bosses along the way, as you try to fight the infection. You'd probably be surprised to hear me say that Hollow Knight was not actually my first Metroidvania experience. That, in fact, was Guacamelee, years ago, and since then I have played others, including the legendary Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night themselves, games that I haven't exactly finished, but I did have fun with because of the Metroidvania game design, and Hollow Knight is no different at all. For real, I had a blast playing Hollow Knight for the first time, from the sense of exploration to so far simple but fun combat, and the overall atmosphere that the game gives off. Seriously, this game is dark and dingy looking, and Honestly quite depressing, but somehow, despite the numerous negative connotations that come with that description, it's honestly intriguing to me in a way that makes me want to save the place from its misery, you know? And speaking of misery, this game is difficult, no two ways about it. It's not like I struggled too much with what I did play, but with where I slipped up and such, the lingering feeling of knowing the game will get harder loomed in the back of my mind, which, okay, I only know because of reviews I've seen in the past, namely some call me Johnny's, but still. However, my lack of ability to play most video games while aside, I did like the sense of challenge the game offered, and that's another thing that intrigues me to go on, to see if I can overcome the obstacles, and I've just been unnecessarily doubting myself. The mark of a gratifying sense of challenge. I had fun with Hollow Knight, a lot of fun, more than I was expecting honestly. That's not to say I was expecting to have an awful time, because I did expect to enjoy it to a degree, given my past experience with Metroidvania titles, especially Shantae Half Genie Hero, which I haven't all mentioned anyway here, but I thought it was fantastic, so there you go. And having said that, I went on to really enjoy Hollow Knight, so lack of segue notwithstanding, Hollow Knight is a fantastic game, so here's hoping my mediocre gaming skills can overcome it someday. 4 great games, all in their own right, and while I only thought highly of 3 out of the 4, I don't regret my time spent with any of them at all. Bugsnax and Stardew Valley are 2 games that will help you wind down after a long day, being calm and laid back, while Back 4 Blood and Hollow Knight are more intense games, providing you with both challenge and a more intense atmosphere. Whatever you prefer when it comes to playing video games, I hope you enjoy your experience nonetheless.